You know, in my last video, I was talking about how I didn't know what park I was going to review next, but then the universe dropped a prescient topic right in my lap. That's right, Six Flags America is in its final year of operation. It will close down for good after their Fright Fest this year. Now, I know Six Flags America has a reputation for being a bad park, and it's justified, but I actually have really fond memories of this park. I've been there 3 times, so I think I have a pretty good grasp on the vibes of this park, and now that it's going away forever, I think it's a good time to look back on my feelings about it. This is going to be less of a review and more of a retrospective. Of course, before we begin, I have to thank Airtime Thrills. I know he isn't a huge fan of this park, but he still has footage of all the coasters, thankfully. I know his last trip was better. I'm caught up on the Airtime Thrills lore, don't worry, but still, mostly negative. Anyway, with that out of the way, on with the video! Theming in Six Flags America. Well, in theory there is theming, but in practice, concrete. It's mostly just concrete. Which is true of tons of amusement parks, but it feels especially true of Six Flags America. Gotham is sad. There are superhero themed names to the rides, and that's it. Same with the Mardi Gras section. There's grid and gold paint in a couple of areas, and the rides have Mardi Gras themed names, but nothing else. Even their new area, Steamtown, feels incredibly underwhelming. Like, they slapped some gear stencils on some walls and windows and called it a day. The actual building facades still look like an Old West town. Changing the names of the shops and the rides does not equal a successful re-theme. Still, the fact that they tried it all was a really good sign for a park that had had basically no investment put into it for years. It's honestly really disheartening that they're shutting the park down now, right after they finally made an effort to improve it. And I know it's because the merger changed priorities, I get it, but it still feels like a waste. Also, I will say that the front entrance and opening area of the park are very nicely themed and fit the whole America idea in a way that the rest of the park really doesn't. But yeah, overall, theming is not a win for this park. When it comes to flat rides at Six Flags America, I have basically nothing to say. They really don't have anything interesting. There are no dark rides, not even a Justice League shooting one. They have a water slide flat ride, which I think is fun, but nothing else worth talking about. Except for one ride. They have one of those physics rides where there are no restraints and it's the pure force of the spin that keeps you pinned to the wall while the ride tilts. Normally I wouldn't talk about it, but this ride was the first time my beloved sister ever rode a ride like this, and she absolutely loved it. For a long time, this was her favorite kind of flat ride, and this is the ride that sparked that love. So, Six Flags America gets credit for bringing her that joy, if for nothing else. Now let's jump over to the roller coasters. Let me get this out of the way. None of the coasters here are world class. There are a couple of good ones, but none that I would put in my nebulous top category. And honestly, ranking the coasters by how good they are feels a bit fruitless considering they could all be gone in a year. We haven't gotten any news on what is going to happen to the coasters of Six Flags America, but I would not be surprised if they were all scrapped. So considering that, I'm going to rank the coasters by how sad it will make me for them to go away forever. Starting with coasters where I don't care at all, we have Firebird and Professor Screamore's Skywinder, or Mind Eraser as it was known for most of its life. And the Kiddie Coaster, I don't care about Great Chase. The next category is good coasters that are clones, so like, it's fine, you can ride them elsewhere. These coasters are Joker's Jinx, Superman, and Raging Cajun. The next category only has one coaster, Roar. This just feels like a wasted opportunity, but I'll get into that more later. And finally, we have coasters that feel worth preserving, and I will be genuinely sad to see go. These coasters are Batwing and Wild One. Now that we have our categories, let's get into details. Let's see if I can get through this without getting too emotional. Closures always get to me. I first rode Firebird back when it was Apocalypse. Back then, it was a stand-up coaster with some actually interesting theming in the queue. I remember being so excited as a naive teenager. I had never even heard of a stand-up coaster back then, and I thought it was so cool. And then I rode the coaster and it freaking sucked. It was so bad. Then, Years later, they replaced the trains and made it a floorless coaster, renaming it Firebird. I got excited once again, thinking maybe with the new trains, the layout would be able to shine better. So on my next trip, I eagerly got in line and yeah, it still sucks. I dislike floorless coasters on principle, but this is an objectively bad one. I have zero hard feelings about this coaster going away. I freaking hate it. Professor Screamore's Skywinder. I hate that name. Coaster names should not have more than 2 words, especially not when every word has multiple syllables. Still, I do appreciate the effort to improve this coaster. They actually gave this thing the vest restraints, which, like, good! This was one of the worst SLCs I had ever ridden back in the day, which is why I'm still kind of dubious about the quality of this coaster, because the vest restraints will cut down on headbanging, but this is a full body pain experience. It felt like my bones were rattling out of my skin. I think the only thing that could truly save this coaster would be a full retrack, which obviously isn't going to happen now. I don't know, maybe this coaster should be in the wasted opportunity category considering they just barely did this huge rehaul for it, but my memories of it are so bad that I can only be happy to see it go. This is probably my favorite coaster at Six Flags America. It's actually the first launch coaster I ever rode. Yeah, I didn't ride Mr. Freeze over Texas until I was in college because my parents didn't like it very much. But hey, at least I got another premiere coaster for my first launch, so yay! This definitely isn't a perfect coaster. The beginning and end are super strong, but the middle drags a ton. But honestly, I don't really feel like getting into the nitty-gritty of this coaster because I'm eventually gonna review Poltergeist at Six Flags Fiesta, which is this exact same coaster, but like, way better. Fiesta, once again, showing the other Six Flags parks how it's done. That's why I'm not too sad about losing this coaster. Yeah, it's a good ride, but a better version exists elsewhere, so you know, not a tragedy. Another coaster where a superior version exists elsewhere. Yeah, if you've ever wondered why the layout of this coaster is so weird, it's because the original was built to fit specific land features at Six Flags Darien Lake. Those weird long pieces of straight track, they go along water at Darien Lake, so it actually makes sense there. I'm honestly not sure why the decision was made to clone this ride of all coasters, but whatever. It's a fun enough ride, nice and tall. You get some good airtime on those hills, and the helixes are kinda forceful. Honestly, they're a little too big and drawn out to really pull a ton of forces, but whatever. It's a fine ride. If you really want to experience it after this year, you can take a trip to New York and ride it there. I don't have a lot to say about this ride. It's really fun. It's a very good spinning wild mouse. In fact, if I could pick one coaster from this park that I think should be moved, it's this one. I think it would be fairly easy to relocate, and it's a very fun ride. But yeah, it's just a spinning wild mouse. No big deal if it goes away. I like Roar. I know it has a reputation for being rough, and it is, but it never bothered me. I think this ride has a very interesting layout, not anything typical for a big wooden coaster. That's why I think this is a wasted opportunity. Roar would have made an amazing RMC. I swear, I wish I could have seen what they would have done to this layout. Heck, even if they just took better care of the coaster, it could have been so good. Just smooth out the worst parts, and this thing is a banger. But yeah, at this point, I think Roar is basically dead and gone. There's no way this coaster is making the jump to another park. What a shame. Oh man, I feel conflicted about this one. Batwing is in the worth preserving category because it is the only Flying Dutchman still standing. I hate it when a coaster model goes extinct. It always feels like we're losing something. But on the other hand, I'm not stupid. Batwing has been living on borrowed time for a long time. Vekoma has moved on. They aren't supporting these janky old coasters anymore. And if you look at the ride itself outside of the context of its model going extinct, is it a good ride? I don't know. I rode Batwing on my first trip to Six Flags America years ago. It wasn't open the other 2 times I went. I remember liking it, but I didn't know anything back then. But even if the ride sucked, I would want to keep it around. It's a pointless hope. There's no chance Batwing survives the closure of Six Flags America, so cross another model off the list, I guess. You're on a roll, Six Flags. You killed the Intamin bobsleds, and now the Vekoma Flying Dutchman. I wonder what will be next. Oh no. This one hurts. Wild One is one of the oldest roller coasters in the world, but that isn't why I'm defending it. Roller Coaster Lagoon is super old, and I freaking hate that ride. No, Wild One has more to it than just its age. For one thing, it's an incredibly long ride, which weaves all over the park. It's really cool to see as you walk around, and when you ride it, I don't know, it just feels like an adventure. My dad and I rode this thing 3 times in a row on our last trip to Six Flags America, and it was so fun. There's a spark to this ride, some special quality that I can't put my finger on, which makes it feel special. It isn't especially forceful, there aren't any particularly unique elements, but somehow every part of this ride comes together to form something that just works. I really do hope Six Flags will make an effort to preserve this coaster, but I honestly don't know if it would work as well in a different park. Wild One just fits Six Flags America. It fits the vibe, the atmosphere. It's the best part of the park, and I hate that it is going away. I probably sound insane, it's just an old wooden coaster, but it is one of the best old wooden coasters around, and this is the closure that really hurts. You just have to keep hurting me, don't you, Six Flags? So yeah, pros and cons for this park seem silly. There are basically no pros. This park has bad theming, bad coasters, bad flat rides, bad operations. It just isn't very good. Of all the Six Flags parks, I'm not surprised that this is the one that's getting the axe. But you know what? Every time I came to this park, I had a good time. I like to watch these 2 series on YouTube from time to time, Defunctlands and Expeditions Extinct. These YouTubers talk about old rides and parks that don't exist anymore, and to be perfectly honest, I can only watch them for so long before I start getting really sad and have to turn them off. I love theme parks. I would not be making these videos if I didn't. I want every single park to be successful. I want every single one to have a chance to grow and get better, and it seemed like Six Flags America was finally getting that chance. After years of basically no investment at all, they were finally at least trying to improve this park. But I guess it wasn't enough. In a way, we're really lucky. Most amusement parks survived COVID, and quite a few new parks have popped up. Epic Universe in Florida, Lost Island in Iowa, Codaland in Texas, Mattel Park in Arizona. I love that more and more theme parks are being built, and I hope that every single one of them does well. But sometimes, things end. Six Flags America isn't a good park, and if the company invests the money they're getting from selling the land into the rest of the chain, then maybe its closure will be worth it. But that doesn't mean I can't be a little sad about it. So yay! Another video! This one was a little different, but I'm glad to get it out there. I'm not sure when I would have ever talked about Six Flags America without the news about its closure, so congrats on skipping the line, I guess? Anyway, next time will probably be Lagoon. I have a limited time window to get out there, so it's gotta happen soon. If not, I'm sure I'll do something else. Maybe I should talk about castles and coasters. It's Arizona's biggest park right now, but that won't be true anymore after the Mattel Park finally opens. If it ever opens. Come on, please. Please open. You too, Codaland, I'm watching you. Epic Universe, you're doing great, baby. Regardless of which park I cover, I will be sure to ramble. Catch you next time. Bye!